impact of market swings on portfolio performance. You think market swings good, bad? What do you think?
What do I think about
big swings? Not good.
Big swings are bad, up and down. Even though the up ones feel really, really good, that's a high watermark. Like you think you're going to keep it, but it's a high watermark for some period of time. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to, for argument's sake, you're sitting at 100 and you usually are up or down a couple $100 a day, and all of a sudden you make $2,000 and you think you're going to sit at that level at 102. You always go back to like 105, 107 or something like that, and you play, but it never stays that way. So swings up, swings down. You want this little stair step straight.
Well, in both directions.
In both directions, the way
it
that
allows you to kind of get in and out of positions there. So yes, totally. Well said.
Yep.
First slide here. So risk is always part of markets, and many viewers have asked how big swings up or down can hit their portfolio. So today we break down how price movements. Oh, that's your.
Yeah, no. I'm just putting in a.
Today we break down how price movement impacts buying power, risk, and profit ratios, and what that means for your trading decisions. So this kind of to parlay on our segment from this morning, the option jive, around like ways to kind of quantify risk in options. This is kind of another look at, more granular, that risk to portfolio and to your positions as a whole.
Very good. Check it out.
So the study that we have SPY 16 Delta Strangles. We're looking at the last 5 years, 2020 to 2025, 45 days, managed at 21 days. We computed the average P&L over buying power, so kind of another risk metric. Risk as in CVAR, we looked at the premium over the buying power and the max over the buying power. We compared the results as price changes. So we're looking at like buckets of price movement, 5% to the up or downside, and then like buckets in between that, kind of to give you an idea of your risk along, based on movements in the market as a whole. And this is just looking at SPY strangles. This is why we use like beta weighting, so you can weight this to however you trade. If you're mostly long delta or mostly short delta, this gives you kind of the way to do that. So the table that we have here shows key portfolio metrics and how they change when the market rallies by given percent. And we're looking at the last 5 years. So you can see we bucket these in 0 to 1%, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, and then greater than 5. And you can see, there's a lot of occurrences in each of these buckets, which is quite surprising. The last 5 years have been very, very volatile, which is why you're seeing a lot of those, 3+% moves. It's not that's atypical. That's
right.
That's above 20 VIX, projection of VIX at 1718, where we're at right now. We're at 1690. Is roughly 1% expected move up or down on a day-to-day basis. So we're right in that, second bucket here. But this gives you an idea of like kind of your average P&L on strangles. Obviously, when you're getting these way bigger moves, your P&L is going to greatly decrease. Your CVAR is obviously going to increase as well as you get these bigger moves, and this is to the upside. You'll see this be even bigger to the downside because you have that volatility component that comes into play. But you can see here, if you're selling strangles, you want inside moves.
You want inside moves.
Not a shock. We're giving you the info here that, when you have
this should not come to a surprise, right? I mean, for you, this is what you've been playing for.
But it does tell you the story of, the 3 to 5% up move. You get a little bit of pain there, but it's not unmanageable. Obviously, when you're having these tail type moves or two standard deviation type moves of 5% plus moves, those are painful as well. But you'll see they're a lot different than what they are to the downside on your position. So when it kind of explains why when you're short delta, the up moves aren't that painful, right? Like because you have a variation of positions. You have long delta on some positions. You're short volatility. You're long time. The up
volatility contracts, which helps most of those positions.
The up moves outside of the 5% face rippers.
Yes,
you're kind of okay.
Yes,
on all these trades. Yeah. That's kind of the story.
You got wiggle room. You can work on things. Yes. You're not hating yourself yet.
And we're just looking at SPY strangles. This doesn't take into account higher volatility stuff that you're trading. You're trading strangles in Microsoft or short puts in Microsoft that had some of this, or Apple or Nvidia, stuff like that. So
little off topic, just to crowdsource here a little bit. You closed your 0-day trade for a nice profit. I think you bought it back at 440 or something like that. Got a lot of emails from other people also trading 0 days at 9:15. I know it's 9:17 now, closing all of these trades and kind of packing up shop for the day as volatility has in the 0 days has collapsed so quickly across the board. Now /VX is actually down 8 cents. I actually thought your spread would work a lot easier on the downside, believe it or not, than the upside. You were able to close that for a profit to the upside. That's all because volatility was contracting.
Yeah, and we saw that in the segment yesterday with Kai, which was awesome, and we're going to do that weekly too. So, which was just a look at the
Kai's market measure was great yesterday.
Really cool, which was a look at the last 2 weeks of 0-day data, and you can see very clearly.
I don't know where Kai's been all the last decade that he's been here. I mean, he really finally come up to play here. Good job out of you, Kai.
Yeah. But you can clearly see you closing those positions, those 0-day trades quickly, avoids a lot of the problem.
Yes.
I know it's lesser profits. It's not as sexy as that $5 credit you get on entry that you get at the end of the day, but you avoid a lot of that wide distribution of P&L, which, is good if you're doing this every day. Next slide here. So according to our study from 2020 to 2025, when the market rallied, 0 to 2% rallies are the Goldilocks zone. So, this is kind of expected move upside is what this is saying. If the market stays in its expected range to the upside, even if you're short delta and you're selling premium on both sides, you're still in a good spot. The edge drops once you go past that 3% range, which is, too much of a move. You get the vol crush, but you're getting too much of a move. And you also get that premium rising into big up moves. People forget that volatility is a reflection of speculation and hedging. So when you have these big moves to the upside, much like you see in like a Tesla or an Nvidia or something like that, when you get these squeezes to the upside, volatility actually increases to the upside. You see that in the short term in SPY as well. Just due to these huge moves, you have volatility staying kind of where it is, not contracting as much as it would had you in a vacuum said that the market was up 5%. You imagine vols 0.
That's
so
correct.
Down a lot.
That's correct.
In market rallies, traders can sell this slow 1 to 2% grind. So you want to be selling premium in that kind of choppiness. Avoid the 3% moves. You want to hedge if you're getting these huge moves. It's not a huge shock here. Next slide, please. So this is on the downside. So you obviously have a lot less occurrences. The last 5 years have been pretty much up and to the right, but you can see, your risk on the downside moves, the tail type downside moves, are a lot bigger here, and that's because the component of volatility is going against you. You're long delta and short vol, and vol is expanding. On the upside, you're short delta and short vol, which typically goes hand in hand. When the market goes up, volatility typically contracts. When the market goes down, volatility typically expands. And so, that's why we typically like to have some sort of short delta, because even into the up move, it doesn't hurt you as much as the downside risk is. So here you can see, across the board again, the inside moves are where you hope to be.
Inside move is Nirvana. I mean, there's no other way to put it, which is a lot of strategies that we, when we're selling premium, do. Now, you can put this on a ratio spread too. You want an inside move, even though, you have room, you have exposure either to the upside if it's a call ratio spread or to the downside if it's a put ratio spread. You might want an inside move, especially if you're buying that 20-ish delta, which has a 50% chance of a touch, and you're selling that 15-ish delta, which has a 30% chance of a touch. So you still want it to be inside the expected move, but maybe a slow drift in one direction. Again, it all goes to your assumption. I love the numbers that they put on here, but you're looking at just kind of one type of strategy, like an iron condor or a strangle, or even a straddle, where you want it to just stay in one spot. Even the S&P's up 2.
stay
It's a nothing day.
all freaking day. It can be
It's gonna be a grind.
gouge your eyes.
Silver just traded over 60 for the.
Oh no.
Oh no, just over 60. Yes.
Hey, good thing I scalped that extra.
Yes. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick.
Next slide here. Do I put another one on? That's a big question. Do I?
Yeah.
Do I really? Do I poke
really
the bear?
snowball here,
Do I
or do I
really?
just hang out?
Or maybe I get long like a gold or something. Another gold. Could do that.
You
That'll
could.
reduce a little bit of
Gold catch a small little bit up 15 handles. I mean, gold is up a third of a percentage point.
We'll do that.
Gold is up a third of a percentage point, and silver is up 2.5%. So now what you just
3
did,
to 2. From 3 to 2.
3 gold
Two
to 2 silver, because you were 2 to 2 just a moment ago.
Yes.
Right. So you're actually, listen, they both could go in opposite directions and hurt you, but
They both go in the same direction.
both go in the same direction and help you.
Yeah.
But what you're trying to do here is you're saying, all right, if silver keeps rallying and that's going to hurt me, maybe it's going to take gold with it too. So it's almost like it's like you're short futures and the market goes a little bit higher and you sell a put out of the money. You know what I mean? It's just a little help here.
Come test me, no problem.
Right. Uncle,
Yeah.
you showed me your strength. You know, you are a formidable opponent. Just hit me here, okay? Hit me here. Sorry.
Next slide here. So yes, according to our study from 2020 to 2025, when the market turns down, small dips will pay, but losses scale linearly and flip hard at the minus.
It's a hard word for me to say too.
Yeah,
it's been all administrations linearly.
Yeah.
has been a tough one.
It's a tough one. I think it might be the Chicago accent. CVAR max loss, obviously widens out in these tail sort of events. Those are baked into trading. The best zones, 1% to either direction. 3% is kind of like the danger zone. When you get past that, that's when you should expect to see some outsized marks on your positions here. A couple takeaways on the last slide here. So position size for crashes for the past 5 years, the market spends 64% of the time in that 1% range. Pretty amazing.
It really is.
How it always, even in the crazy times, the distribution tends to play out. You do have those kind of tail risk events. So, position sizing, diversifying strategy. When volatility is low, you should be taking off some of those short premium positions and looking at more directional stuff.
You talked about it just
calendars,
like that. You talked about just a minute ago, just even the trades you've made today. You throw out the scalps that you've been making and trading futures, and you've been taking off a lot more trades than you've been putting on, right?
Yeah.
So